Okay, exciting day. I have the Ludwig Black Magic 14x8 brass snare. I've literally wanted one of these forever, and I've finally got one. And to say I'm pleased with it would be a ridiculous understatement. Just to hint at I've not done too much with it yet. I've not had it in band or in the studio, just giving it a wee tap in the house. But just to show you how good it is, I've not swapped the factory heads that come with it out yet, and not replaced the snare drum wires. That's how good this thing is. It's just incredible. It cost me best part of £400, and it's worth every penny. It's so good. Anybody that knows anything about these drums, these are basically made of the same material as the Black Beauty, the Ludwig Black Beauty snare drums. Difference being that these have a weld in the shell, and the Black Beauties are completely hand spun, one piece sort of thing. Having listened to the sound comparisons of both snare drums and videos on them, I can't really tell the difference, and if there is a difference, God knows what it must be, because this snare drum compares to the other two I've recently reviewed and owned recently, all the other snare drums I've owned in my life. This is just on a different level. It's, when you buy something and you're really looking forward to get it and it arrives and you're pleased and everything, but there's a wee bit of you that's just like, yeah, I'm a wee bit disappointed, it's not quite living up to my expectations. This is knocked out of the park. I barely tuned it up and gave it a wee tap, and I was just like, wow, this is just fulfilling everything that I was wanting, dreaming of, hoped for, and I hadn't even touched it yet. I've given it a bit of a tune to where I would normally have my snare drums. I like them quite high, because obviously I play metal, sort of thrash metal sort of stuff, and my tuning technique, because I only play 14x8s, is that I have the top head fairly high, but the bottom head fairly high as well, but a bit lower than the top head. I don't know if any of you other guys with 14x8s do that, but that's what I find works best. On the snare drums I use just the way I hit, the way I play. And I wanted this one because it had die-cast hoops, because there is another model very similar that they actually sent me by mistake. It was a World Max, same shell type, it looked like, very similar anyway, but it had flanged hoops, silver flanged hoops. So you can imagine this shell with silver flanged hoops. It looked really classy. It looked just like a Black Beauty actually, and it just wasn't what I wanted. But out of curiosity, after I got over the shock and disappointment of opening the box and finding it wasn't the right snare drum, I gave it a hit, and man, that thing sounded so good as well. But this one just has that extra beef with the die-cast hoops, as I hoped for, and it's just a monster. I can't wait to get it into the studio, and I'm going into the studio next week for some drum practice, and that's I'll do a more in-depth review of things then. I'll also do the Sabian stage AAX stage hi-hats, and I'm going to do a complete video on my setup, because I'm back to running two kick drums and everything, and I've got new heads in the kit, so I'll do a setup review, some drum porn for everyone, because I love that, so you must, I bet some of you do too. So I'm just going to pause the video, set it up, and I'll give it a bit of a whack, okay? Okay, let's go for it. Excuse the weather, but not much I can do about that. Okay, let's give it a wee tap. And that's where I'd normally have it. I've not tinkered with it too much. I've got an Evans HD dry head, which is usually what I'd got. I'm feeling that's the head for this snare drum, because I usually use a heavyweight or an HD drive or an ST drive. But for this one, just with the beef it's got, I don't know if you managed to hear that, but it's the other two snare drums I had were loud. The loudest snare I've ever had is the Vinnie Paul Maple, the pearl one. The other two snare drums I have, the Natal Brass and the Tama SLP Steel 14x8. They're loud snare drums. Not as loud as the Vinnie Paul, but this thing is just, it's like a nuclear weapon. I mean, I don't know how it looked. I wasn't licking it too hard there. And it's just exploding. It's so good. And for £400, £370, £380, whatever I paid for it, it's just really worth it, and it's really nice quality. It's not a incredibly fancy design, but it's just, you know, when you put your hands in an instrument and you're just like, that is an expensive instrument. That's just, it's just sheer quality, you know. I can see what all the fuss is about. So anyway, that was like a medium high tension. I'll let you all hopefully enjoy this video for the time being. And like I say, I'm going into the studio just for drum practice, because it's been a minute since I've played drums seriously, because the band's on a bit of a break. But I'm going to the studio on Wednesday, so 3 days time, and I'm going to do a complete kit tour, like I say, drum porn of my kit. It'll be the double bass setup. I've got a Yamaha Oak Custom X, so I hope everyone's going to enjoy that. And it's good to see a bit more interaction in the channel. Thanks for everyone who's commenting, you know, nice comments, bit of encouragement, and beginning to pick up a bit of subscribers now, so that's really nice to see. So stay tuned, guys, and there'll be some other good product reviews coming soon. But once I get the new heads on the snare drum and I put on my 42 strand snare wires, I'm going to do another video on this thing, because it's just so good. You know, it's just a bit of a phenom. So if you do have €400 or pounds kicking about and you want a great versatile 14x8 snare drum, just do it. I promise you're not going to be disappointed, guys. Okay, cheers, see you later.